just raised my hand. I don't even see it raising. Now it's raising. Man, it's slow motion, Jack.
We are ready. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. How you guys, everybody? How is everybody doing? Welcome to our weekly podcast, Everyday Muslims. Today we have very special guest, our first guest in this series, and all praise and thanks due to Allah. We have Brother Ali.
Alhamdulillah.
And as always, I'm your brother Laith, Brother Kasama, and Brother Ali as well. So again, we welcome all of you. Today we have very exciting topic. We will try to talk about why we are Muslims, because we all come from different backgrounds, different families, and different life experiences. So today we want to touch upon why we are Muslims and what make us to remain as Muslim. Why don't we just leave Islam and embrace any other religion? So today we're going to start with our guest, Brother Ali. So please welcome, introduce yourself to everybody and try to share with us your journey in Islam, why you are a Muslim, what keep you as a Muslim, and any thoughts that you want to share with us.
So, I am a 50s baby. And in the 50s, the predominant things in my neighborhood were basically Christian. And the whole neighborhood knew each other and took care of each other. But things have changed now. And the reason I became Muslim was because there was a need in me to find something that was better than what I was being taught. My heart just could not accept that the creation is being worshiped. And once I found out that there was something that was bigger and better, as I listened, my heart opened. And I realized that in Islam, a Muslim is not a bad person. There is no such thing as a bad Muslim. Because once a person goes out of that submission, because that's what Muslim means, to submit to your Creator. And when we go outside of that, then that takes us out of Islam. And our teachings are that once you repent, you come back into Islam. So I have heard things being said that good Muslim, bad Muslim. I want to correct that for all of the audiences out there to know that there's no such thing as a bad Muslim. Because if you use the word correctly, Muslim means one who submits to the will of Allah. And if you submit to the will of Allah, that is what makes you Muslim. But then when you fall short and go outside of that, then you have just fallen short and gone outside of that. So when I was growing up, things were totally different. We didn't have the educations and the ways to be educated. But one thing about Islam that is good is that you must seek knowledge. You can't just listen on a Sunday to what a man says and it's okay. In Islam, you have to fact check every single thing that you come across so that you can do what? Be a good Muslim. And
very nice, very nice.
yes.
You mentioned very good point, Brother Ali. And this as well, because we spent 2 episodes
Yes, we
talking about good Muslim and bad Muslim.
Yes.
So I just want to push back on what you mentioned,
Yes, please.
because we all are different.
Mm-hmm.
We are 4 of us here. We all have different positions on many different things.
Yes.
So I want some clarifications.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned there is no such thing as a bad Muslim,
Yes, I did.
what will you say, or how can you categorize
Mm-hmm.
individuals who say they are Muslims?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they are born Muslims. Maybe they are practicing Muslim, like pray 5 times a day and fast, but they don't follow and they don't submit to God.
I like that, Leif. It's good that you brought that up. See, when a person is born a certain way, like the way that I was born, my father followed a man out of Detroit, Michigan, Elijah Muhammad. And when Malcolm went to Hajj and came back, and he said something differently, I saw my father's face turn red, and he felt like he had been taken. And this was what was supposed to have been good about being a Muslim or a black Muslim in the United States of America. What they were doing was not Islam. So coming up, I couldn't watch cartoons. Bugs Bunny was a con artist. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, they stole. So, my childhood was much different than the other people's childhood, because they believed that a man could come down their chimney. They didn't have a chimney. So now we find out that things are differently, and it was easy for me to grasp Islam, the true Islam.
What do you categorize these people?
You categorize them by what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. They asked him, they said, can a believer, now see, there's the difference. You have 3 stages in this religion. One stage is submission, the next stage is to believe, and the next stage, you're more advanced, then you worship God as if you see him. And if you can't, you know that he sees you. So, a person that says that I was born Muslim, I went to a party just the other day, Leif. It was the best party, Ali, I've ever been to in my life. But my phone had the dawn come across it. And nobody got up for prayer. So the best party turned out to be the worst party for me. So that's the difference that I'm thinking that you're looking for. Because you're born Muslim doesn't mean that you identify with what you're born with. So it's an identity crisis in which we have in our society, because what everybody else is doing, this is what everybody kind of glides to. But a Muslim and a believer, he kind of shuns those things. And he sticks with the ones that are like that. That's why I love you 4 brothers, your 3 brothers.
We love you too, brother.
Because if I'm doing something that's outside, I'm being corrected. Because Summer corrects me every time I get angry, and sometimes my mouth will say things that maybe I shouldn't say. And immediately he said, Ali, brother, if you're going to be around me, you can't do that. Alhamdulillah. This is what makes us different.
Very nice, very nice. May Allah bless you, Brother Ali. You mentioned one concept that it might be new for our guests and listeners. You actually mentioned the different categories
Yes, I did.
in our religion.
Yes.
So you mentioned the first step is to be a Muslim.
It's to be Muslim.
then we can upgrade and become believers, and then we upgrade and become righteous people.
Yes, we do.
Righteousness,
Yes.
virtue, God consciousness, God awareness.
Yes.
These are the three different levels in our religion.
Yes, it is.
So a believer is a Muslim. Every believer is a Muslim,
Yes, it is.
but not every Muslim is a believer.
That's right. That's just what I was trying to get across.
Yes, but we also like I understand what you're trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
but still, because there are good people
Yes, they are.
and there is bad people.
Yes, it is.
There's good humans and there's bad humans.
Yes, it is.
So we cannot just say, oh, they are humans.
No, we can't.
So when we're talking about they are Muslims, everybody is a Muslim,
Yes.
but there are good Muslims
Mm-hmm.
who they are doing the right thing.
Yes.
So we categorize them as good Muslims.
Yes.
And there is bad Muslims who are doing bad things.
Well,
They still
the
Muslims.
Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says that when you're doing bad things, you lose your Muslim. The Muslim goes away until you start doing good things. So there's no such thing as a bad Muslim. You get out of that category once you start doing something that's against the Sharia. And that's basically the laws in which we are governed by. So what we do as human beings, we are given this right to either do good or bad. So once we start doing bad, we've gone out of submission. We're no longer submitting when we become bad. So this is what I want the people to understand when I say that there's no such thing as a bad Muslim, because once they start doing bad things, then they're just like other bad people, since you brought people into it. They become bad people. And when they start worshiping and ask for forgiveness, then they become now good Muslims. Because we don't have to go to a priest and sit behind a wall and confess our sins. We confess directly to God.
Yes.
Yes.
But still, you see, this is such a
Touchy situation?
no, this is such an important subject.
Yes, it is.
Because this shows you different mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up with this specific mindset.
Yes, those
With
specific
this specific
teachings.
teachings
Yes.
that you take Islam
Mm-hmm.
is so strict
Yes.
that there is no room for mistakes.
No.
There is no rooms for
No.
being bad.
No, that's not the strictness.
Because what you were mentioning
Mm-hmm.
is this what so many different people categorize as what they are kicking people from their religion.
Mm-hmm.
So you say like, look, you are either a good Muslim or you're not a Muslim.
No, I'm only going by what the prophet said. I could really care anything about propaganda. See, this religion is easy if we follow the teachings and we follow the model that the Quran tells us. In the Prophet Muhammad, you have the best.
So what do you see? Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna categorize a person
Mm-hmm.
who, let's say, he's lazy and he doesn't want to pray?
A fasik.
So he's not a Muslim.
Fasik means that he's rebelling.
But is he still a Muslim?
Is he still a Muslim?
Yes.
Why
he's lazy.
Why he's sleeping
Yeah, he's
and
lazy.
not
it's
getting up?
time to pray. Or
Oh.
let's say he was like, I don't
No,
feel it.
he becomes a regular person then.
Yes, you see, this is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This extreme mindset,
Mm-hmm.
it is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
Your generation grew up with this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Very on deen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to do this, otherwise you're not part of us.
Well, otherwise, you make a bad example for the religion. So when you don't do this, then you become just like the rest of the people. This is what every other religion did. The Jews did it. The Christians did it. The Buddhists did it. So why not just be one of them? Why be Muslim? So being Muslim means now that you understand that you are God's deputy on earth.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I don't want to just hijack this conversation.
Yes, I know.
So I want the others, brother, to share some thoughts
Well,
about
I
this.
would like to share.
Before we go back.
I would like first, not
Yes.
Kasama,
Uh-huh.
but Brother Ayman.
Ayman.
Ayman Ali.
Ayman
I would
Ali.
like Ayman Ali
Uh-huh.
to cross-examine me right here about my thoughts.
So did you get the question? Like the idea is like, should we be so extreme that we're gonna be like, to be a Muslim, you have to do this. If you're not there yet, you're not a Muslim. Or should we be lenient? You're gonna be like, we all like on a journey or something.
I would say we all, when it comes to Iman, it said that the prophet's faith is like this. All of them, all of the Nabi, their faith is like this, ever increasing. Said the angel's faith is like a straight line. The Malaika, they said mankind, our faith is like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. So knowing, we all, I'm not gonna say, I don't really like the term fall short, but we are always dealing with fitna. And the thing is, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran to never let go of the rope. And as long as we are holding on to that rope, the important thing is salah. One thing that I can say is, I've had times in my life in which, I started slacking, in which I was even slacking with my salat. And when I reevaluate things in my life, that was the worst time of my life, when I stopped praying. When I stopped praying, I made the worst decisions that, I could make. Decisions that I'm still facing the consequences for. So, the best piece of advice I can give somebody who's struggling with their iman or whatnot, don't give up on your salat. Don't give up on your prayers. One question that I have for Brother Ali. Brother Ali, you say you were born in the 50s.
Yes.
What, from the 50s up until now, it's 2024, what changes what noticeable changes have you noticed in the Muslim community here in America?
Here in America, the changes that I have noticed is that we forget the pillars, the 5 pillars, and we forget the 6 articles of faith. And again, like you say, once you take one of them out of their positions, then you're going to have this chaos that you were mentioning. You're going to have people now that chase money more than they chase paradise. See, the money is going to disappear, but the afterlife, the akhirah, is something that's permanent. And if you study and seek knowledge until that breath is taken, then you take that particular knowledge to the grave with you, and you understand that because we don't know what is in the akhirah, in the bazaar, in the holding places until the horns are sounded. There is an existence going on. We are just not aware of it, just like we're not aware of the jinns that are in here now. We can't see them, but they can see us. And these are the things that Islam teaches. Basically, no other religion lets you know that the devil was not a fallen angel. Everybody thinks that this is an angel that fell. Just like you say, you don't like to use the word falling, that you fall off. And you mentioned the rope. then that's all that we have, and you hold on to it. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, hold on to it with your molder teeth. So that's the teeth that's got the most strength. And in today's society, we have become lazy. And this is what Leif is saying, that if you cannot control yourself enough to take these 5 pillars and 6 articles seriously, then you are doing it not only to yourself. We had a conversation in the past, you and I, that it's not just us, it is our family. And when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given this religion, he said, teach it to your family. You did. And that's what he did. He went straight to his family, and some of his family did not accept. And those were the people that were his worst enemies. So now if we don't save our families, then they become our worst enemies, because we have not done our duty to them. And we never should give up, not only on ourselves, but never give up on our families. Still, as long as we have breath in our life, tell them to seek the knowledge, because they stop. For some reason, they stop. Even in schools, they stop. 12th grade, stop. College, 4 years, stop. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you might go 8 years. But a Muslim, he continues all of his life.
At what age were you when, I guess, your father made the shift from the Nation of Islam to
Well, it was
Islam?
my mother and my father.
Okay.
And it was basically when Malcolm's foot hit the American soil.
Okay, so you were still a child.
Yes, I was.
Do you remember that transition?
Yes, I looked at them deeply. I looked at my father deeply, and I saw the change in him from going from being totally bald in the face, including his mustache. He didn't even have a mustache. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, Leif. I'm looking at this man. He never had a mustache. He would comb his hair to the side, this kind of stuff. And the transition that I saw was a more natural transition. In other words, you ever seen the little monkeys that they had a little grinding? The man got the little grinding thing. He got the bow tie on, and he moving around like that. Well, I saw my father turn from a monkey to a real human being, a real man, because he grew his beard. He took the part out of the side of his head. And he had curly hair, it was pretty hair. He took the part out. Something that I didn't even know, because the way he had it was all greased up, slicked up. So I saw this transition, and then I saw the transition of my mother, who was wearing a scarf. I don't know if you all know about these kind of scarves that the women wore back there, but they wore them and they tied them, not like the hijab. So my mother was a school teacher in public schools in Chicago Heights. So now her dress code changed, even to the point that there was no more spike heels that they used to wear, them spike heels that they used to wear. And I used to look at my mother, I said, how do her feet even get in those shoes? Because of the way they were pointed and made. So I saw that transition to now a more of a natural transition. And with that, then everybody in my family that was young and what we called back then hip, then they gravitated to this new way of life. And shortly after that, Elijah's son came out of the I don't know where he was all them other times, but he kind of just came out of the woodwork. And this was who my father was getting his teaching from. Now, my mom, I do not know where she was getting her teaching from. I guess from whatever my teaching that my father got, that she got. But to me, she was a little more knowledgeable of the religion, maybe basically because she was academically, she was able to adapt and use the correct foods. We weren't able to eat just any kind of foods. And it was a good life. It was only until I came and left and went to college. And when I got to college, that life was so different from the college life. The movie, A Different World, would totally describe what college life was for a Muslim growing up in that time. It was in the 70s now. And it was basically a turnabout, and my imam did not stand it. I crashed. I started doing everything that everybody else on the campus was doing. So, ultimately, my life became unmanageable. And things started happening to me that should not happen to anybody, because now I am making babies out of wedlock. So I was actually destroying society. I became that very person that the angels questioned Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about. You're going to create a man that would cause corruption and shed blood? I became that creature. Yes.
So, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I have a question pertaining to what you were speaking about, especially when you saw the transition in your father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this goes into the topic of what we're speaking about today also. It's like, why was Islam the truth? You know, after you seeing your transition in your parents,
Mm-hmm.
and you started studying up on, you know, yourself as well,
Mm-hmm.
and start seeing it. And I'm going to read some of these verses in the Quran and some of the things I'm going to read just to kind of get your insight on what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Because truly, like, when you see a change in, especially somebody that wasn't following correctly,
Mm-hmm.
and then they transition, now the truth that you see, it's like once you see the truth, which is so clear, it's hard to say, like, you know, I can't go back now, you know what I'm saying? Because,
Mhm.
like, this is the truth. So, in the Quran, I'm going to read some verses. It says, indeed, we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran that you might understand. All praise is due to Allah, who has sent down upon his servant the book and has not made therein any deviance. Then they do not reflect upon the Quran. If it had been from anything other than from Allah, they would have found it within much contradiction. It also is going to say, this is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah. And it says, indeed, we have sent down this Quran. With it is, it says, indeed, we who sent down the Quran, and indeed we will be its guardian. So from reading these verses, Allah is basically letting us know that He has sent something down, which is the book, His words, which is protected, which is revealed to those who gain God consciousness to see the truth, to not be able to see any contradicting in it, because there is no contradiction in it. And the verse also goes on more. Basically, it's Allah challenging, you know, especially the people at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah challenging these people basically about, you know, prove to why that you believe that this verses are false. Try to create something similar, which is speaking about 10 verses. 10 chapters. And then Allah even trickling down to like one surah for them to the simplest form, basically. Because it's like when you see something that is the truth, which is the Quran, it's hard for a person that truly believes to try to say there's nothing, there's something wrong with this. So I'm pretty sure like a light came in when your parents seen the example that Malcolm was giving them through the Quran, through the Sunnah of the Prophet, because of his education of what he had to study. Because that's how Malcolm woke up as well, gaining trueness. So I wanted to ask you the question from what I've read and your experience on Islam as the truth, and to explain to the audience too, like, why is it Islam the truth and something that can't be looked at as not the truth?
Okay, Brother Bakri, I love you, brother, because now you are giving me a chance to express the fact that Malcolm went on pilgrimage, which is what? One of our pillars of faith. You dig? So now, once he went on pilgrimage, we saw the blessings that come with following our religion, the pilgrimage. It's one of those that you can only make if you're healthy and you have enough money to go there and your family that you're leaving is still in good shape. So Malcolm was able to go on this pilgrimage basically because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had decreed it. And he was able to obtain true Islam on that trip. So that's why following the pillars are so important. He learned how to pray over there. He had never prayed a day in his life, and he called himself Muslim. Aki. See, this is what I want to let you know, that he and all of the people that was following considered themselves Muslims, but they never prayed Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. And those are just the basics. Everything else is following the sunnah of the example that was made for mankind. So that's why I am so adamant for the audience to understand that there is no such thing as a bad Muslim. Because if that were the case, then we would say, well, those people were bad Muslims, because they were not following the Aqidah of Islam. See? And even now, with me, if I do something on this stage right now that goes outside of Islam, I'm not Muslim while I'm doing that, Aki. I am doing me. I'm not doing any justice to Islam. Am I making any sense to you, Ima?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. So now
It's like
that's
you're saying, Islam is perfect, Muslims are not.
exactly.
So if I do something that's not the religion,
Yeah,
that's me. That's me.
That is me. So at that point, then I have stopped submitting. See, we constantly submit, and we up here, we follow the Shura 103 with each other. That's what it's all about. We got a book, and then we've got the example of what that book means and how to carry that out in the hadith of the Prophet. So we were blessed with the Prophet for his 63 years on this earth, and when he became a prophet at 40. So 23 years after his prophethood, we were given the way to live. the way to live a Islamic life.
And that's amazing when when you really think about it.
Yes, it is, my brother.
By the will of Allah, 23 years Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought a message that changed the world forever. And if
I'm
you
gonna
look
show-
at it, what
I'm going to show you something even more amazing. Before he became prophet, they called him Al-Amin, the trustworthy. Everybody loved him. But just as soon as he gave up the dunya, for the audience that might not know what dunya means, soon as he gave up the world, soon as he gave up worldly life, now he's been called all kinds of things. And I think of myself and how I feel about what people say about me and think about me. That had to have been a hurting thing for him to be at one time called the most trustworthy person in Mecca. And now all of a sudden he's called a madman. So this gives me the courage to understand that Islam is special and being Muslim is special. And if I don't have the character of a Muslim, I need to start telling people that I'm something else. Don't make them think that bad character is being a Muslim. Because the Prophet ﷺ said not only was he sent here as a mercy for mankind, but he brought good character. He came to correct the character of mankind until the day that we are all called back. And that is why I oppose the fact that anybody could be called a bad Muslim, because they are not Muslim when they're doing bad things. They are being themselves.
So, Brother Ali, because of the sake of the time, we only have 20 minutes
Only have 20 minutes
left.
Okay.
So, what some of the things that you look back on and you say, this is why I'm a Muslim?
Well, the things that I look
What
back on,
keeps you as a
I
Muslim?
had everything that I did that I thought I was being successful in, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took it all away from me. And basically, after the understanding came to me, he saved me from the destruction of myself. He took everything away from me, but he left me rich because I have Islam. So Islam gives you richness, and you could be holes in your shoes, but you are at peace with everything around you and with yourself. I look at people that are rich, and I hear about the people talking about they are depressed. How can you have all this money and be depressed, Leif? So now I understand that money doesn't make it, not just it doesn't make you buy you happiness, but money doesn't give you peace. Peace comes from recognizing what you were created for, and that is to worship your Creator. And the best way to worship your Creator is to be kind to His created people. So that's why our society is going in the shape it was and is going into. That's why the children, people that say, "Oh man, what is going on?" They are children out of wedlock, brother. So this is a curse, because fornication is a curse. You talk to the people now, I talk to them. I want a wife bad because I never had a wife because I was conceited and thought of only myself. But now Islam makes me think of others, so I want a wife. And I talk, and they tell me, "Oh, I just want to do this, I want to do that." And I'm saying, so you don't mind just laying down with different people, and they have no problem with it. So that tells me that their moral compass is very corrupted. And you might think that these are decent people, but any person that does not care enough about themselves than to sell themselves cheap. Oh, I don't want a husband. I just want to do me. This was just yesterday in the oil shop. She talked so much wisdom. I had looked on her finger, and these people this is what they qualify. They're distinguished. They got a ring on the finger, so that means they're married. I said, no, I'm not married. I don't want to be married. And she was telling me about the troubles. I hope she's not listening. She was telling me about the troubles she is having.
It wasn't yesterday. It was a week ago.
She told me the trouble she's having out of her daughter, 27 years old. Her daughter's angry all the time. Yeah, she might be angry because you didn't have a man in the house, and you just had a bunch of men running in and out of there. Because that's what happens when Allah gives you certain things to test you. And her beauty, it's got to be a test for her. And she's taken her beauty and just giving it to in the old words of the old people, every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
So, Brother Ali,
Yes, brother.
we want to learn more about your experiences, you as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So, what keeps you as a Muslim?
What keeps me as a
Like
Muslim now?
when you grown up now, no, you're not afraid of nobody. Like you got your own.
Yes.
And Christians, Jews, atheists, so many different people from many different religions.
Yes.
And some people, they don't even have a religion.
No, they don't.
So what keeps you firm in the religion of Islam? Why don't you just leave Islam and do you?
Because I know that in all walks of life, everyone says that there is going to be an afterlife. So, my teachings and my understandings is that this balance, this justice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give us is our good deeds and our worst deeds are going to be on a scale. And this scale, if it is deficient on good deeds, then I'm crushed. And this crushing is the type of crushing that my mind is not ready to wrap around. So I believe in doing the good deeds that Islam teaches so that I would have a chance to make my scales be sufficient, and maybe I can get some of my family members out of the hellfire that were not fortunate enough to know about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is what keeps me grounded. The fact that I have a model, a role model that is a serious role model for success in the hereafter, not success in today. Because if I wanted success in today, my role model would be Elon Musk or one of those Bill Gates type people. And that's just going to be for right now. I guess that's why they try to go to the moon for up into outer space for 15 minutes and come back down, because that's it. All that money that they have, it shouldn't be any poverty in the United Snakes of America. Because they've got all these billions. Even Oprah Winfrey, a lot of billions. She went to school with me at Tennessee Snakes. But, she's got all this money. I don't know. I can only envy her and wish that I had that money where I could feed the people. Bakri and I, this past Sunday, we went to the homeless park and we gave out food.
I saw footage of that.
And do you know that I just felt so much, it felt so good. Yeah, I mean, it really felt good. So I know how you be feeling with all this.
'Cause one
stuff
brother
that
took
you do.
shahada, didn't he?
Two. I
They
gave
say three.
Three.
I gave two shahadas. The other three was back off in the park. I never went off in the park because the park was full of a lot of naked women. They had clothes on, but they were naked, brother. So I stayed on the street where I could run to my
See.
truck.
Lowering your gaze.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to go off into where where you could go and take that peep because there's a tree here and a bush there. So no, I didn't venture off into that. But I was told that a kalima was given, even there. So these types of things give me hope that we can take control of this city. The Muslims take control of Memphis and make Memphis a mecca for Americans to come and see what living good means.
Very nice. Yesterday also on 201, two brothers took their shahada.
To test shahada.
Mashallah.
And that's a blessing for people that everybody turns their back on people that are in jail. And a lot of people that are in jail that you and I know are not even guilty. Then there's some that are so guilty till it is not funny. But there is hope for everyone because of the mercy of Allah. And they just have to get it. And for them to be able to understand that their forefathers did the best they could. Their parents, their grandparents.
Brother Ali, you mentioned something about what keeping you firm in the religion. You mentioned the concept of self-accountability.
Yes, yes.
What keep you firm
That's what keeps
is
me
that
firm.
you believe that you will be rewarded for everything you've done.
Yes.
And you will be held accountable for everything that
Well, it still be, if I do bad,
Mhm.
I'm going to be rewarded for that bad. And guess what that reward is going to be?
What?
The hellfire.
Oh, no, that's not a reward, brother.
Yeah, that's a reward for my bad living.
No.
Yeah, that's what I did. Self-accountability for me means that if I do good, I will be rewarded with good. And if I do bad, I'm going to be rewarded with that bad that is created for people that want to rebel against their rub.
Very good.
That means Lord.
So what do you think if when Christians come to you and say, what you talking about self-accountability? You don't need to believe none of this.
Mhm.
Just believe Jesus died for your sins.
I-
Accept him to be your Lord and Savior. And you don't need to worry about good deeds and bad deeds. You will be saved.
I hope that nobody will get angry at what I'm getting ready to say now. Then
Tune it down then.
then this is why their preachers are being shot on their church grounds trying to keep somebody from breaking in their parish's cars. See, because there's no protection. If it was some protection, the churches was this and that, nobody would come on those church grounds. In all of your worst movies you ever seen, when it come, even when they give you these vampire movies, they don't go to the church, do they? In those movies, oh, that's sacred ground. You can't do nothing on sacred grounds. That's in the movies, right? But in reality, it's going down on those sacred grounds. So the grounds are not so sacred, are they? So basically, we have a problem with humanity not understanding their duty is not to accumulate and mass up everything on earth, but to mass up good conduct that will give you paradise.
Sure, but like, why don't you accept Jesus and
I think
Well-
the danger in that is like, as far as the accountability, like, in Islam compared to the accountability in Christianity, there's really no accountability.
Yes,
Because
that's what I said.
coming from-
that's what I meant. Wild,
Coming
Wild
from
West.
someone who used to be Christian,
Yes.
because I was Christian, I converted to Islam at the age of 20, 18 years ago. And by believing that Jesus died for my sins, if you look at it, what's the point? Why do I have to do good when somebody else already paid the price? But in Islam, I'm held accountable for my own sins. How am I forgiving? By repenting, asking for Allah's forgiveness, and turning away from that. Ultimately, I am held responsible, not somebody else.
Well, what they did, Leif, Jesus never told anyone that he was God. He never told anyone that he was the Son of God. Their books verify what I'm saying. He said he was the Son of Man, meaning that he came from the same place that our first Adam came from. Man. He's mankind. So he gave them the knowledge. Now, for some reason, somebody else can take and tie this band around your eyes where you can't see it. And now you start feeding in to somebody else's program. Because in the Quran, Bakri was asking me things from the Quran. So the Quran says that they have taken the son of Mary and made his position be something that it wasn't. So we as Muslims, we know that God saved him and didn't allow him to be killed on the cross or be killed, period, because he's going to have to come back and rectify all of these lies. Well, I actually call it blasphemy. All of these blasphemous things that they have given and attributed to him. So it was easy for me to adapt even to that, to know that if this man was truly the Messiah and the Word, that his prayers wouldn't be answered. I mean, my mind, Leif, could not wrap around that. And I would ask my grandfather those questions because that's what he believed. But he believed in what was easy for him to navigate. By the way, he ain't had no hair on his face.
No,
He didn't have any hair on his face either because it was hard to be accepted back in his time. He was born in 1906, and he only had a 6th grade education. And he had other sisters and brothers, so he had to work. And all I ever saw him do all his life was work and do good things. He followed what he believed in to the T. He did that. He followed it to the T, to where when I look back on him, I say he was Muslim. But was that what he confessed? No. But his actions were actions of a Muslim. So I had all of that type of character around me, and it was my love of doing what everybody else was doing. Because in Islam, sometimes in certain areas, if you're not around Muslims, then you look like an outcast. And being young and dumb, and I didn't want to be an outcast in school.
Brother Ali, there is only 2 minutes left.
Only 2 minutes left.
So, what advice can you give our audience, our brothers and sisters in Islam, in humanity, in Christianity, in Judaism? What advice can you give everyone?
My best advice would be the advice that the Quran gives. And the Quran says, seek out knowledge, because the ones that seek out knowledge, they're the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favors. He favors the people that seek knowledge. So that means that now that you see this podcast and we are constantly mentioning Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, know you Christians out there that may be watching, that He is the comforter that Jesus said that would come, and that he would have to go, and that he would lead you to all truth. Know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that person. And for the Jews that are out there that are biting their nails and pulling their hair out of their heads, know that Jesus came to stop what they were doing. And they condemned him to death because he didn't bring them the power that they wanted over all the other people. Meaning the Romans, meaning the Persians, because those were the big powers back in those days. You had the other little people that were around, and we see that those people now were the forefathers of the Palestinians, and we see what's going on with Palestine today.
What about advice to the Muslims?
Advice to the Muslims is
Give them firm on.
to stay firm on your deen, is to not let your Quran catch dust. Read your Quran, and also try to get under the Qurans that have the tafsir, because a lot of times what we read, because we have not reached that level that we were talking about, then it might be something that we will read into it, and then we'll spread something that is untrue because of our understanding. So we have to study this religion. We have to be ready for anybody, whether they're atheists, Christian, Jews, Buddhists, whatever. We have to be ready to give them the proper wordings of Islam.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you so much, Abba Ali, for joining us.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say something. I want to pass on something that was brought to me. A good brother of mine had asked me. He said, "How many athletes do you know? Like on a basketball team in the NBA, how many basketball players do you know?" You know, he wasn't asking me per se, but he was saying this is a question that he asked younger Muslims. How many basketball players do you know? He said they instantly get to naming off,
All
Kyrie
10 of
Irving,
All 10 of them.
LeBron James. And he said, okay. He said they named 10 easy. He then goes to ask them how many he said name 10 Sahaba. He said
That
a
were
lot
not
of them
in the family.
that were not in the family of Rasulullah. He said a lot of them are not able to. I said that's a clear indication that, a lot of us have to study more. We have to learn more, because, one brother, he asked me, he said, brother, a brother told me that you're supposed to love Rasulullah more than your own family. And I was like, that's correct. He told you the truth. He said, why? And I realized the brother doesn't know Rasulullah. So I'm like, brother, that's why you have to study the Sirah. Learn who Rasulullah was, man. And that's why obligation, knowledge is such an obligation. The first word was ikra, read. There's no, just passing by as a Muslim who's not gaining any knowledge, that really doesn't make sense.
That's
It's an obligation to learn.
That's what it is.
So try to learn something every day. Pick up the Quran, even if you only read one sentence. If you pick up, plan on reading one sentence. If you're inclined to keep going, alhamdulillah, keep going. But try to learn something new every day, because there's so much to learn about Islam.
Very nice. Brother Kassam, any final thoughts?
It's crazy that you spoke on that, because yesterday after Isha prayer, that was exactly what was spoken about in a sense of education, because especially summertime is here, kids are out of school and stuff. As parents that's out there, what are you doing to basically teach your kids? There's something, especially as a practicing Muslim, Islamic teachers. Because 6 months out of the year they go to school, they're learning about this, and this. But now that they're out of school for the next 2.5 months or so, what kind of program are they getting into to be able to pursue their lifestyle, what they believe in, and understanding more to carry this on with their education, because you don't want to just be an engineer and know all this stuff. and then you have no clue about your own religion. Like he was mentioning, we are in the Hajj month, and one of the questions that was asked is just like, why are we celebrating this month? He asked that in the class, and only like a couple students was able to answer that. So it do have a lot to do with not just education on career, but chase your main career, which is the hereafter. So that's something advice also for myself as well, not just for me to say to other people, but for
That's
myself
right.
as well, to motivate me to try to do more and look for every day that when I wake up, it's like, what am I trying to achieve? Am I, and the best mindset is to wake up in the morning and say, I'm trying to achieve for what I'm going to put forward for when I die. And a quote that was on your page today about the individual that passed away, and one of the things that he was mentioning, basically, like, when I die, my name is no longer my name. You're gonna say, hey, bring his body here, or do this. My belongings is no longer my belongings. The only thing that basically that goes along with me when I die is the things that I did in goodness toward my tomorrow.
That's right.
So this is very important that we do try to force ourselves to educate ourselves, even though it is hard sometimes for me. And I know it's hard for a lot of people too out there as well. But this is something that we have to try to at least keep in our mind and try to put forth one step at a time, inshallah.
That's
100%, 100%. So last thing I can mention, which is basically to summarize everything what everybody else is saying, is basically you need to take education and learning as a lifestyle. We are not supposed to be learning only when we go to school. Learning and reading and growing should be something that you constantly do for the rest of your life until you die. We all meet so many different people throughout our life where they are grown up. They are maybe in their middle 30s or 40s or 50s. But when you talk to them, when you see their behavior, they acting like teenagers. So you meet people that they stuck in their ways, they stuck in their mindset, they stuck in their box for 10, 20, 30, 50, maybe they even die and never change their way. So the only way for us to grow and get out of that box, get out of that bubble, and grow as in with our mentality and our mindset is by actually studying and learning from other people's experiences and journeys. Because we all have different journeys, and they say, um, what they say, the wise person, the person who learned from other people's mistakes or something like that. So the final thought is everybody, all of us, as Brother Kasama mentioned, this is advice for ourselves first, and then for everybody else is actually to pick up the Quran and read. Have your own personal journey with the Quran. And I always mention to my friends that you need to have 3 bookmarks in your Quran. The first bookmark is when you read the Quran on a yearly basis. The second bookmark is what you are studying, researching, and learning the background and the reasons of revelation and the context and the rulings on specific verses that you are studying. And the third bookmark is for you to memorize the Quran. So, Subhanallah wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. As always, we thank all of you for joining us. We ask Allah, the Almighty, to guide all of us, protect all of us, increase us in knowledge and increase us in understanding. And we ask God to send His blessings and mercy and salutations upon Prophet Muhammad, his family members, his companions, and all other Muslims who follow him until the day of judgment. Thank you guys so much for attending. And as always, keep us in your prayers. And please continue supporting us and be part of this journey of this podcast by leaving comment, share, subscribe, spread the word. Tune in every Thursday 7 o'clock in the evening, Central Time, to encourage us and to help us to continue doing what we're doing. As always, I'm your brother Laith,
Bakr Samar.
brother
Brother Ali.
Brother Ali, and our special guest,
Nasir.
Brother Ali as well. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace of Allah be upon all of you. And have a